Recording in progress.
Oh.
Yeah. Andrew's going to be joining us slightly late because he's on a call.
Oh, okay. I sent him a few really good leads and kind of walked him through them yesterday.
Oh, okay.
Like ones that I kind of like, the one lady that had the permanent cosmetic makeup.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, okay, let's draw off. So I said, you gotta go in. I'm trying to set him up so he can close it.
Yeah.
But some of these are just right. Her school today. She's like, can we meet on Tuesday? Now she downloaded the document, I think just to get it like, I don't know, it's $10,000.
Yeah, yeah.
All at once.
Yeah, pools and boards, yeah, school, that kind of stuff. Yeah.
Here's $10,000, but she wants to get started on Tuesday, and because they're adding a whole wing of our school.
I want to be you. Did you go into the thing last night? Oh, cool. Very cool. Yeah, after staring at a screen from 10 feet away, I was like a boat home.
Oh, yeah. We had to do a thing where we like put a fun fact in a box and pass it around.
Oh, that's smart.
Fun fact out, try to guess who put the fun fact in, and then
Okay.
after the guessing happened, then that person stand up and basically give like a 2-minute rundown of the most interesting things they can like. say about
Oh, man.
themselves.
All right, cool.
So I tried to like just wait topic.
Yeah,
I told her it's like Forrest Gump. I mean, it really has. You can point to any year and it's just weird.
that's cool. Life's meant to be interesting.
Yeah. It's been crazy.
Yeah, I like that piece about you being a writer. That's cool.
I love to write.
I got 7 books across my journey.
Yeah. On my phone or my
Yeah.
computer, so. Your waves for second.
That's okay. I love waves.
Self-discovery. and
Island
emotional,
getaway.
When we
3 hours of
Try-
drone
just
beach
travel.
calms me out.
So Michelle and I used to live in Indiana, like across from Paradise Beach, like one of those like side streets. Like we lived in a townhouse, and so when we bought our first house, we couldn't afford to live there, so we had to go to Melbourne. But we got so used to hearing the ocean that I would just pretend like the Wickham Road in 95 was like. Yeah. I would. That's my dream. I don't care if it's a tent. I'd love to live on the ocean.
Yeah, it's so nice.
To be honest, I think I'd rather live on the river.
Why?
Because I don't have like turtles like digging on top of me in the middle of the night. Yeah, I know. Maybe a good part of the river.
I want an ocean walk condo on the beach, one of those end units that are around.
Yeah.
balconies. I have my friends live there,
I
and I was.
I know. I honestly like I would sacrifice like square footage for just view. I really would. I really would. I don't know. Michelle would be the same way. And not with 2 other.
I don't know.
There's-
If I can get that up.
I'll tell you what, and we'll get started because this is the have it on Zoom for Andrew when he can get on. He's on a call at the moment, but I grew up on an island. Long Island. Everyone thinks that New York's actually surrounded by water, but it is. It's an island. And it was, and we went to utilize the water a lot growing up. And then I moved here, and I lived in Satellite Beach, right on the water, right? And then I moved to Melbourne, but that's not far from the water. The river, everything. And then when I moved to Palm Springs, I lived in a desert. you don't realize like not being by the water. And then we moved to Northern Virginia, and even though the Potomac is there, you don't see it. You think you see the river, you don't see the river. I don't even know. I mean, it's there, and I think I was on it once. Well, I could not wait to get back to water. It's just amazing. Like the water draws you back. Like it's just amazing. All right. So as my promise is that I've talked about, we're going to have monthly product training. And then we'll start doing bi-monthly. Johan, you need to be on your phone or, okay, thank you. We'll do bi-monthly sales training. So this is meant to be an hour. I don't want to be more than that. So I have it on Zoom because also Zoom will shut down in an hour. But again, so Andrew can come on there. So Jackie and Johan have seen this training before, but it's a good refresher, right? So I enjoy giving it because every time I give it, it sharpens my skills. And again, I don't think Justin is anything new concepts. And again, I don't think when Andrew pops on, it's any new concepts for him. But we have to stay sharp. We have to keep refreshing what we do. So we're going to talk about today search engine marketing. So I like to say search engine marketing versus the two other products that we talk about, which is PPC and SEO. These mean absolutely nothing to clients. Okay? Stop talking about PPC and SEO. They don't mean anything. All right. What means something is they understand what Google is, right? They understand what a search engine is. So what we sell is search engine visibility. That's what it is, right? It's getting visibility on search engines. So what we sell is search engine marketing. The strategy is search engine marketing. The tactic is PPC and SEO, right? It's not important to get into the tactics. That's why they hire us, right? The agency comes up with the tactics and the strategy, but the strategy is search engine marketing. So ultimately, the goal is to be everywhere you can on a search engine page, right? So search engine page is what we call SERP, right? That's the shorthand for it. Search engine results page. That's the goal, right? We know that I think it's like 3.5 million searches an hour or something ridiculous, right? I think it's actually more than that. I think it's 35 million a second. It's something like outrageous, right? So the goal is to show up here, right? So we know that there's ads on top. We know that if it's a local search, there's a GMV right here. And then we know we have the organic, right? Ultimately, if you think about it, the more places you show up, the more likely you're to be seen, correct? Right, so the same sort of concept is the phone book, right? You remember the phone book? Right, so the phone book had two parts of it. It had the yellow pages and the white pages. The white pages, everybody's listed. Yellow pages is ads. That's what their sales team sold, the ads, right? The concept makes sense, right? And branding helps you show up on the yellow pages, also helps you show up on the white pages. Same sort of thing there, right? So the ads help the organic helps the ads. Now, the interesting thing about it is a lot of research says that 70%, what's that? 70% of clicks on a search page happens on the organic side, right? So that's why that is super, super important. So you need to show up here and here, right? That's where the rest is. So you say, well, it's only 30%. I don't even worry about it. What's 30% of 35 million? It's a lot. It's a lot. So you still got to pay attention to that. The point is that some people want this versus that, but ultimately, what you just want to show up everywhere you can, right? If your business shows up here, here, and here, and you're listening 3 times, and another business only listens once, who's more likely to be seen? All right, the business has more frequency. All right, so keep that in mind when we're talking to clients. We need to be focusing on search engine marketing, right? It's not SEO, it's not PPC, it's search engine visibility. That's what we're focused on, okay? So I like to always go back to this, the path to purchase. Does anybody want to take a stab at what that is? I'm pretty sure I've talked to all of you guys about this more than once, but it's okay if you don't want to take a stab, but I'll give you a shot.
Wait, you want us to go through it?
What is the path to purchase?
So awareness, so that's making the client aware of the need or the product or the service. Interest. When they, what's gonna call them to have an interest, the decision making and a call to action.
Okay.
That's really rough. So.
That's okay. So the path to purchase is also known as the consumer journey, right? Every product or service that you buy or want to buy or purchase has a path to purchase. Everything has a consumer journey, right? So the difference is the length it takes to get from awareness to action, right? So awareness is recognizing I'm in need. Interest is I'm deciding to, I'm looking, I'm discovering, I'm researching. Decisions, I decided what I want. And action is I make a purchase, right? So everything from breakfast to buying a car to buying a house is in there, but everything's separate, right? So let's say breakfast, right? I wake up this morning, I'm super hungry, right? I'm aware that I'm super hungry. And also I'm aware that it's Friday and everything's kind of bare at the house. So I have to make a decision, right? So I'm interested in having breakfast, and I'm interested in having a nice warm egg McMuffin. Right? Or at least I want a sausage. I want some warm sandwich. So my interest is there. I have to start making a decision. I start thinking, well, on the way to work, I pass McDonald's, I pass Burger King, I pass Wendy's, I pass Starbucks, I pass Dunkin' Donuts. All of them have nice warm sandwiches. But I keep getting bombarded with McDonald's, and even in my head, I said I'd like a McMuffin, egg McMuffin. So I make a decision to get an egg McMuffin. But then I got to decide which one, because I might pass multiple McDonald's, right? Well, I got to start thinking, where do I go, right? And then finally, I'm in the drive-thru and I'm eating my egg McMuffin, right? That took me like an hour and a half, right? Flip side is I have a car. I leased a car. The average car is leased for 3 years. I have 6 months left on my lease. I know that I have to make a decision. I'm aware of that. But my interests have changed because the car I have is a 2-seater that has no room. And since then, I've gotten 10 dogs, 3 kids, and a wife. Right? I need something bigger. So I know I need something bigger. My interest has changed. So I have to make a decision. Do I want a van? Do I want a Suburban? Do I want a bus? What do I want, right? I decided I would like an SUV. That's what I need. Right? I need a big SUV. So then I have to decide, is it import? Is it domestic? If it is, all right, let's say domestic. Is it a Ford Explorer? Is it a Jeep Cherokee? What is it? I have to make a decision. I decided it's a Jeep Cherokee, right? And then I have to decide, do I want new? Do I want used? Do I want to stay in a lane? Do I want to go Carvana? Do I want to go? Like, all these decisions have to happen where I finally decide that I want to use Carvana and I get my car, right? And that took 6 months, right? Flip side, house. House you may be renting, decide you want to change, you want a bigger place, you want a home, right? That can take a year and a half, 2 years more, right? Point is everybody goes through that path to purchase. Well, we have to have a good understanding is where the client's business is with this. The answer is everywhere. It needs to be everywhere, right? Most people will tell you, I want what I like to say bottom funnel, that's the bottom, right? I want people to make my phone ring today. So do I. But you have to have brand awareness, right? So look at the size of the funnel on top. The size of the funnel on top is larger, right? It's easier to get in a larger space. It's harder to get in a tighter space, correct? Right? So you have to build awareness. You have to build interest. You have to build decision. So your marketing should be talking to all those places, right? So then start thinking about, going back to what we're talking about, is search engine visibility. The answer is that each of these spots on there can dictate certain places on it, right? So we're going to talk a little bit about which each of them need to fall in there. Ultimately, everything can fall in anywhere. Sometimes the message dictates it, but certain platforms, certain solutions, whether it be PPC, GMB, search, organic results, tend to do better in certain phases there, right? And so we have to get better of saying, all right, I believe that search engine marketing, search engine visibility is important for your business because I know that thousands of people just in your location search for your product or service every day, but you're not showing up. What I need to understand is your process. Is it someone that they search for you and immediately call you, or is it a longer process? Once I have a better understanding on there, then I can put you in direction of how to show up there. But we have to have a good understanding of how to identify that with the customer and then how to match that back up with how the tactic of search engine. Make sense? All right. All right. So this is my favorite analogy. So Justin, have you ever seen this before?
What movie is that?
It's actually a TV show. I think it's a SEAL team.
No, they're wearing the same category I wore.
Oh, they did? Oh, no way. Okay. So I like to think about SEO, PPC as these two different things. Okay, so SEO is an aircraft carrier, and PPC is a SEAL team, right? So right now, what do we have going on in the world, right? We have Ukraine and Russia, right? They're kind of flaring up and talking crap to each other. A lot of heat going on right there, right? So the US government says, you know what, we need to say that we're paying attention to this. So they'd say, hey, the aircraft carrier that's in San Diego, right? Load up, fuel up, turn out of San Diego Harbor and cross the Pacific Ocean and get to Crimea. Get to that, whatever that sea, I forgot what it's called, the Black Sea, right? Get there, right? What do we know? How long is it? You know how long it takes to fill up an aircraft carrier?
A couple days, just across the Atlantic, it takes about 12 days.
12 days, right? So probably, I think it takes, I remember one time I heard it took like a day and a half to fill it up.
Oh, full of fuel?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Pull up next to it.
Yeah, so it's sitting, right? It's sitting there, it takes up all day, and then it takes 12 days. Yeah, so it takes a day and a half to fill up. They're also probably making sure all the equipment's on there. Everybody's getting called back that might be not there, right? And then it's probably takes a minute to make a U-turn in the harbor, and then it takes 12 days to get there, right?
Wow.
But when it gets to the Black Sea, do they see that? They know it's there, right? It holds down the fort, and Putin goes, oh shit. They just send the big boys over here, right? That's SEO.
A lot of keywords.
A lot of keywords, man. A lot of keywords. But the point is that it takes a long time. But what do we know about an aircraft carrier? Shit, that thing holds down the fort, man. They know it's there. You're not missing it. It's there. It's there, right? You look at the firepower on it, right? Flip side is they're sitting there and they're saying the Joint Chiefs of Staff are saying, shit, it's going to take us like after fuel and get everybody there, it's going to take over 2 weeks to get that, right? So let's send the SEAL team. Let's send in the special forces, right? Exactly. They're in there, surgical, right? Get in there and do what needs to be done. No one sees them necessarily, but only the people that they're facing see them, right? That's how you got to think of PPC and SEO, right? PPC happens immediately, right? The minute you send the team gets there. The minute you buy ads, load it, it shows up. SEO, it's going to take some time to get it going. It's moving over there, but when it gets there, it holds down the fort. I like this analogy. I'm not saying use this analogy. I find your own analogy, but use this if you want to. I like it because it gives a good understanding of what the difference is, right? You want the aircraft carrier to get there, but it's not going to get there tonight. So you got to be patient, knowing that when it does get there, it's going to hold down the fort. Make sense? All right. So we'll get back to SEO in a second. Let's go to look a little bit more about PC. We're going to talk a little bit more about SEO and PPC. So again, the goal isn't to show up in the ads. The goal isn't to show up in the organic. The goal is to show up on the search results page, right? For the most relevant terms possible. The other way you got to think about this, I always like to think about is SEO is the foundation of your business, right? So I always like to go back, please put the phone down. We know I'm about to be on the phone right now, okay? SEO is the foundation, right? So if I am a Ford dealership, there's a couple of things about a Ford dealership that never change. They sell Ford, right? They sell new cars. They sell used cars. They also have a service department, right? As long as that dealership is a Ford dealership, that never changes, right? That's SEO because it's going to take you a long time to get there. That's a foundation of your business. However, let's say it is June and you have a shit ton of 2022s left. Right, and you know that new cars are coming in, you gotta get rid of those old cars, right? That is a specific inventory related issue. And let's say it's specifically on Ford Escapes, right? That is something that just flared up, that's a need. You're not focusing on SEO to do that. You're going to PPC because that is a unique industry, right? So you're gonna advertise that as long as they're available. Doesn't mean you can't, you might always have escapes. Doesn't mean that you're not SEOing for it, but you're trying to move escapes and it's a short-term opportunity. So that's where PPC comes in because you can add it into that. You might anticipate it's only gonna take 60 days to move those. So you want a shorter campaign that's specifically on that. Make sense?
Yeah.
Same thing, service, right? So they always have a service department, but maybe they want to have a focus on new tires, getting new tires. It's not something they always want to do, but right now they do. So they go to PPC. So it doesn't mean that your PPC can't focus on 4 new. I'm not saying that. What I'm saying, it's more nimble, it's more dynamic, right? It's the SEAL team, it's the special forces that can come in very quickly and focus on something specific. It's not winning the war, it's winning the battle, right? So this is the specific battle. This is a war. Exactly, this is a war. So they do work good together. I mean, I want you to keep that in mind. So that's what this says. So a lot of stats say that when you do them together, you actually get more clicks, more visibility, right? Again, it's just frequency of what works, right? But again, SEO tends to be that long-term value. PPC tends to be that immediate results. SEO is good for exposure, branding awareness. PPC is highly measurable and quantifiable, right? You pay per click. SEO, you're not paid per click, right? So it's just good to have that understanding. And again, we have to focus on why search engine visibility is important to the customer, not why SEO is important, why not PPC is important, why search engine visibility is important. Ultimately, I want to sell them both. But we need to figure out what makes the most sense, right? If they really need the phone to ring tomorrow and they only have budget for one, which one do we do? PPC, right? Because that makes the phone ring. SEO will long-term, but depending on what city, what industry they're in, it can take what their site looks like. It could take a long time. So if they're looking for the faucet to turn on this week, we're not going SEO. Absolutely, absolutely, 100%, absolutely.
So don't be afraid to like say, and then you can already say, but let's build your landing page if we're gonna send it such ads.
I agree, absolutely, because that's the thing. We don't make sales for people. We drive leads.
Right.
I used to sell the car. I used to put a sign out in my office when I was in automotive. We sell car buyers. You sell cars, and I told my people remember that. They tell you they didn't sell any cars. We don't say, I'm sorry. We say, how many people came in?
Yeah.
That's what, or how many people called, how many people on your website? I can't help you sell cars.
So yeah, they're expecting leads and their
Leads.
website looks like crap.
Yeah.
They sell on the landing
They sell on the landing page, 100%. All right, so the last part of PPC I like to talk about is because I don't want to stay too focused on specific products because I think we have to the overall strategy, but keyword planner. So I know I've talked to all you guys about this, but what this shows is intent. So you can go in there, pop in keywords, pop in a website, and you can say 1,000 people are looking for pizza in Palm every month. When your pizza parlor doesn't show up. Not only does your pizza parlor not show up, but everybody else does. You know, do you want to get that business? And that's literally what the conversation is, right? That's not, hey, these people are buying paid ads, these people are trying organic. It's saying people are looking, and when I look and I do a search result, I don't see your business. You're not an option. You're not an option. If you want to be an option, fear loss, opportunity for gain. All right.
Real quick.
Yeah, please.
Nolos, you're incredible SEO, and which is not running PPC. That's literally the approach I'll take one.
Okay.
If people search for the right things, you're gonna find a page and you have like thousands.
Yeah.
of keywords, but when I search right now for the best plastic surgeon in Bar County, you don't exist. You know, Dr. Clemens exists. 'cause he's one of
Yeah.
the
Yeah, he's running ads. He's showing up.
You're the only female plastic surgeon in the area. You're not even, you know,
Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, I'm sure just by letting people know that she's a female actually would
I
make people
know.
comfortable.
yeah.
All right, I'm gonna load this up. All right. So what we tend to focus on a lot here is SEO. And SEO is extremely important. But I don't always we shouldn't be leading, right? So that's what I want us to remember today, right? Is we're not selling product, we're selling a solution. A product is PPC and SEO. A solution is getting search engine visibility, right? A solution is getting you leads. It's not getting you rankings, it's getting you leads, right? Those are two different things. Rankings don't make the cash register ring, leads do. I can make you rank for anything, but is it the right thing, right? That's what we have to stay focused on. All right. So let's go to path to purchase outside of Jackie, because she gave us that already. Either Johan or Justin, who wants to give it, explaining how would you explain this to a customer? That's the most important, not to me, to a customer.
I'd say look at it from the perspective of needs awareness instead of needs awareness. So the customer.
Yeah.
Or the client that we're talking about, we're teaching this to a Ford dealership.
Yeah.
I would say your customer becomes aware that they need a new vehicle, specifically, hopefully they become aware that they need a Ford.
Yeah.
And then from there, they move from the awareness phase into interest, where they start to search for new vehicles, hopefully for.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, and then from there, they decide to make a decision about their purchase. And once they make a decision, action.
Absolutely.
Try to make a purchase.
Absolutely.
You know,
And where does marketing fit into that?
in every single part of
Yeah.
it, especially the awareness, interest.
Yeah.
And decision.
Everywhere, right? So, I mean, if you think about the messaging, right? Like action could be like buy this weekend, February special. Decision is, decision could be like choose us versus them. Interest is, have you tried a Chevy lately, right? It could be, you build it. So what happens is all different types of marketing fits in there. National marketing, I like the analogy of auto, not only just because I worked in there for so long, but just because it makes sense very easily. So there in automotive marketing, there's 3 tiers actually. There's tier 1, tier 2, tier 3. Tier 1 is like national, like what you'll see on the Super Bowl, like Ford, right? Just yeah, it's brand awareness. And then tier 2 is what they do regional. They'll do like your Southern Ford dealers, right? Go check out your Southern Ford dealers. Right. And tier 3 is come to Kelly Ford. So they all fit in there and they all advertise. And to me, that's a great example, right? So the Super Bowl commercial is the awareness, right? The interest is really the Southern Ford dealers. The decision and action is Kelly Ford, right? And ultimately you need to be everywhere, but a lot of people will not market their budget that way. They'll try to focus on one thing or another. I only want low funnel leads. I only want call to action. Yeah, me too. But if you don't have brand awareness, why are they going to pick you? Right. So you have to have all that. So I find an analogy that works for you. That's how I like to explain it. I think it's an important, when you're talking about search engine visibility and search engine marketing, to me, this is a very important topic because it does make a difference. The interesting thing is you can't discount the other interests and influences in this tunnel, which is friends, neighbors, right? Reviews, all of that flows in here and all of that is going to be influencing. And so if you're not messaging in those places in the funnel, you're letting other people dictate about your business, product, or service, right? And so that's how you influence, because if you just leave it up. So everyone always says, right? We talked about that today, like, oh, I just do word of mouth. That's word of mouth, right? But you're letting and most business owners are going to be cognizant. Our work stands for itself. I'm sure it does. It does not only positive though, right? And so this is word of mouth, but you're letting the word of mouth dictate the action, right? Your advertising can influence word of mouth. It can shift word of mouth, right? It can channel word of mouth to action. That's where advertising comes in. All right, since Justin gave that, let's have Johan do the SEO versus PPC. How would you explain the difference?
SEO is important, but you have to take into consideration that's a long-term game. You're not
Okay.
gonna get results. If you want somebody to see the product, you want somebody to see the reviews about how good you want customers or how well you want at your job.
Yeah.
You want to see that you want anybody to realize why you're better than the next guy, then you want to use PPC. It's going to help you get attention and awareness spread now. That's going to
Quick, it's quick, yeah. So a lot of SEO is people are still researching, right? It doesn't mean they don't call to action. I don't want to say that people don't see an organic listing, click on it or call it. They do. I'm not saying they don't, but typically it's more of a research, right? So, but it's more about how nimble your business needs to be, right? If your business needs to quickly change, and specials change and offers change and discounts change, that's PPC, right? So SEO needs to be more focused on the fundamentals of your business. So sometimes people say, well, I want to rank all these keywords. No, you don't. You want to focus on your top keywords. Let's identify the top 3 to 5, right? The things about your business that don't, right? You can think about everything. Yeah. No, you don't. All right. So what is SEO, right? So we're going to get a little bit more SEO. SEO stands for, right, search engine optimization. You know what it is? It's the manipulation of the search engine's algorithm. That's what it is. Right? That's what it is. But it's about quality and quantity of traffic, right? So the name of the game isn't how many people went to your site. It's what are the best people, the right people went to your site, right? It's always about that, right? It's always about quality over quantity. Now, we want to increase the quantity, but we can't discount the quality because that's what's the most important, right? Despite the acronym, SEO is much about people as it is about search engines themselves, the understanding of what people are searching for online. Search engines are answering a question. That's what it's about. It's answering a question, right? The search engine's main customer isn't the marketing companies, isn't the businesses. It's the people doing a search, right? They're asking a question. And so Google is trying to deliver the most relevant and accurate answer. Google's delivering an answer to an issue, right? So what does that mean for us? Well, we have to understand what people are looking for, right? So yes, I might be looking for tile, but I want tile because I need something that lasts. I need something that's affordable. I need something that is fancy, whatever is going to draw you in, right? You need to answer the question, right? So answers they're seeking, the words they're using. If your website, this is why we focus on content a lot, right? If your website doesn't have the answer, it's not going to just be displayed, right? So that's why we focus on keyword-rich content, because you might sell the product, you might have beautiful pictures of all these things you sell, but if you're not explaining why they should buy it, what it is, explanations on it, then it's not being crawled. It's not an answer, right? So knowing the answers to these questions is how you help connect with people looking online, right? People think I just have to show my product. No, you have to explain your product. You have to show the benefit of your product. You have to show how it solves their issue. So knowing your audience intent is one side, right? That is a huge side. We have to know what the customer is looking for. So when we optimize for our website, the Adly, and we do PPC as well, I'm focused on what people might be looking for. Are your leads down? Are you hitting your goals? Are you a credit repair marketing company? Are you looking for credit repair for window service? That's what people are looking, right? Not just general, they're looking very specific. And so you have to be very specific. All right, so the other side of that is that you could have the best content in the world, but if a search engine can't read it, it don't matter. It don't matter, right?
That's what I was telling. I did a consultation yesterday. I was there all images. I was like,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
it's pretty.
It's pretty. It probably doesn't have alt tags, probably doesn't, yeah.
I think it's a hot mess. So.
Yeah. All right, so this is, I love this analogy. So you guys have ever heard of Maslow, right? So Maslow is, and I know I've talked about this with everybody, but is a psychiatrist, right? Or is what he is, scientist, let's call him, right? And he came up with a hierarchy of needs, right? So it's a theory that you have to prioritize your human needs before your accessories, right? So you can't be concerned about how you're fitting in your social life if you haven't eaten in 3 days. Right? You're not concerned about going on vacation if you can't pay your rent. So there are some basic human needs that need to be met before you can focus on other things. SEO actually is very in line with that theory. And so Maslow, which is a great site that we all look at, they always talk about, came up with their hierarchy of SEO needs. And so what this did is it came up with a pyramid of needs, right? It's the same kind of thing. So starting down here, the foundation is the crawl accessibility. If a search engine can't crawl your website, nothing else matters. So the way I like to talk about that is, so if I go to France today, and I have a great time in France, and as I'm leaving it, somebody I met there hands me a book. And that book doesn't have a cover. It's like an old school book. It doesn't have like a picture on it. It's a hard book. And you don't write, but it's in French. It says, you congratulations, keep learning the French language. Here's a great book I want you to enjoy, right? I get home and I realize that, oh, this is a book I've read already, or I don't have time to learn French. But you know what? This is supposed to be a really good book. I'm going to donate it to the library. So I go to the Melbourne Library and I give them that book and I go, do you take book donations? Absolutely. Well, here's a book I'd like to donate to you. The librarian opens up and says, what does this book say? Right? What kind of book is this? Is this fiction, nonfiction? We can't take this, right? That's basically what Google's doing. They're trying to say, what does this website say? What is this website about? So if that website is not speaking the algorithm language, it doesn't index it, just like a librarian doesn't index that book. Now that book was Moby Dick, right? It's a classic, right? Does that library want Moby Dick? Yeah, absolutely. But because they couldn't read it, they couldn't crawl it, couldn't understand what it was about, what language it was in, didn't go in the library. Yeah, and that's the same thing with websites. So if your site can't be crawled, if it can't read the language that you did your website, it will not be indexed. So that is number one. We had a couple months ago that all they wanted us to focus on backlinks. I said, backlinks, yeah, that's great, but your site's not crawlable right now, so backlinks ain't gonna do anything. You can draw everybody there, but who's able to read it?
What's wrong with the site?
It just wasn't crawlable. It had a lot of issues like that. It just had there wasn't enough content. The website platform was the wrong platform. I mean, there's all these different things, right? So you need to make sure that your site's crawlable first, right? So once you do that, then you move on to the next step, compelling content, right? So again, what we just talked about, it has to answer the searcher's query, right? If you sell surfboards, but you have nothing on your website about surfboards, and just pictures of surfboards, or just that, hey, we're open, like we've all seen that Google My Business page, that's just a picture, the phone number, doesn't say anything. You have to have content, you have to have keyword rich content, okay? After that, your keywords have to be optimized, right? So are they the right keywords, right? Are they what you look for, or is it what your customers look for, right? Right, that's what you have to think about, right? It has to be you have to track the customer, not track your wife or your partner or your husband. You're going to attract the customer. So that's why it's really have a good understanding of I'm not looking for blah, 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 blah type of tile. I'm looking for flooring for my kitchen, right? You have to be specific. Great user experience is next, right? So after you kind of make sure that all this has happened, user experience. So I've shown you guys you go through the Google site speed, right? Yes, it's important, but it's not the most important, right? If you don't have all these other things, it doesn't matter. It could be the fastest. So we've seen websites that are 99 on that. They have no content. So you can be fast, but you have no content and needs no. In fact, websites that have no content can be fast. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Nothing will. Right? share-worthy content, right? Stuff that people will say you're an authority. So we always talk about the authority score, right? And that's other websites in your industry or like-minded businesses look to you as an expert in something, right? Does someone go to your site and say, yeah, I like that, I would share that, I would share that on blog, I would share that social media, I would link to that. I would love to have a keyword link on there to my site, right? If that's what that means, right? Then you start looking at your title, URLs, and description, and then you're looking at your snippets, right? So the one thing I'd say about title, URL, and description, your page should match with the products on that page and services. So a lot of times we don't see that, right? You'll see like, target.com/ampersand new arrivals. What the hell does that mean? They should say chairs. Right? So I gotta do that. And then lastly, the snippets, that is related to how search engine results look on a page. Right? So by paying attention to the schema markup, you can influence.
Yeah, can you tell me what schema markup is?
Yeah, so when you do a search result, right? So an organic search result, right, it'll have the name of the business, right, it has it probably has the URL, it probably might have the phone number, and then it has like a brief whatever page you're sending it to, right?
Mhm.
So if you don't do anything, Google dictates what shows up,
Okay,
right? If you want to influence how it shows up, then you pay attention to your markup.
okay,
So it's just a back end thing. It's just a back end of you're saying, hey, I would like, I'm trying to influence what it shows. Like maybe I want to call out number.
how would I describe it?
You can influence how your search result displays.
It looks like the meta description and the actual HTML like heading.
Yeah,
You can determine exactly how
you
you.
can influence, not determine. Google always determines. You can influence. If you don't pay attention to schema markup, you're at the mercy of however Google wants to display your business.
Got it.
Schema markup and the snippet is the way to influence how it's displayed.
Okay. I love.
Again, not the most important.
But there
But
are
it's part of
people,
it. It's
you know,
part of
still
it.
wanna know.
Yeah, no,
Yeah,
absolutely.
great.
It's part of it. That's
love
the key. It's part of it.
I'd like to break the back. end.
Absolutely. All right. Any questions on this part?
No.
Okay. All right. So this just talks about a little bit more. I say this as the 7 steps. This isn't our scope of work. Okay. This is just you having an understanding of what is done in SEO. All right. So again, it's just, this is exactly that pyramid. It's just broken out to a paragraph, right? So again, crawlability, content, optimize keywords, user experience, backlinks. That's where your share where the content is, your referrals, your domains. Then you're talking about like your page structure, your titles, URLs, and then of course your schema markup, right? All of that is done. It's not all done at once. It's done, right? And the priority though is again the very beginning, right? So now there are more things to this. There's advanced SEO. This is just kind of like top level, right? I'm not saying you have to go over this with people. I want you to have an understanding. But if someone tells you I'm just focused on backlinks, I say, well, let's back up a minute. What does your content look like, right? What is your how crawlable is your website? Right. The one thing I always like to talk about too is like, content, why fresh content regularly is important. So do you know why we say crawl?
Because the matrix of it scans.
Yeah, they're bots, right? So they send what they call spiders out and it scans scans the website. So as often as you update your website, that's how often it'll ultimately scan your website, right? So if you put content up today, Google sees the website URL has changed, the content has changed, it comes back to it. If it may check real quick tomorrow and says, no, it didn't, right? So it comes up with your pattern. Like if you're doing it weekly, it does it weekly. If it does it monthly, it does it monthly. You can manually request to be uploaded, and which we do it all the time, but most people don't do that. So a great example is I always go back to Florida Today. Any news company wants to be known as breaking news. If they don't put news breaking on their website multiple times a day, Google doesn't see them as breaking news, and so they don't crawl often, right? So if you start gradually putting less and less content on there, then the search engines will gradually less and less crawl your site. So you could be the best search engine visibility against your competition, and then your competition starts regularly adding content that can move them up. You could do nothing differently. You could be completely optimized. Everything looks great, but you're not adding fresh content on your.
Same with YouTube.
Yeah,
You have how you can see posts regularly.
yeah,
Way ahead of everybody else.
absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Because it's fresh, it's authoritative, right? It's relevant, right? Relevant means fresh, recent, right? So you need to pay attention to that. Moving on. So that's kind of what I was just kind of talking about, like, you know, how they work is crawl, right? They go into the site and then they index it. Think of like a library, right? So the bot's the librarian, looks at it, make sure, understand what it is, indexes, and it's put on a shelf, right? It's put it on a cloud, a virtual shelf. And then ranking is kind of provides the content as an answer, right? Again, you got to look at it as an answer, right? So that's like some of their initial search engines for that, like Ask Jeeves,
Right.
right? Is it ask a question, you know? And that's what it's doing. So you got to think about the search results as an answer page. The most relevant or authoritative, best user experience, right? All of that, right? A librarian would want to say, these are the books you're looking for. This is the information you're looking for. They're not going to give us one, maybe, I'm not really sure. No, they're going to say, you're doing a paper on cold fusion, right? Here you go, here you go, here you go, right? That's what the search engine does. Blah, 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 blah. It's not going to give you like refrigerator repair because it had the word cold in it. That's not what we're trying to do. Like, so people try to,
Terrible measure somewhere.
yeah, and people try to do that and manipulate stuff by doing that, but it's not about, and yes, it is about manipulating the algorithm, but it's about providing answers. If you focus on providing the answer, it'll be better. And that's why we stay so focused on the content, right? Which also we should be focused on video now too, because video can provide that answer too, right? So when I say content, that should be video as well. All right. Keyword research, right? Again, so understand what your audience wants to find, what are people searching for, how many people are searching for it, in what format do they want that information, right? So that's kind of a lot. The keyword research is something that you can't just say, I want to rank for these things. You have to find out, are these the things that you should rank for? I had this conversation with Atlantic Tile last week, right? I was like, that's what you look for. That's not what your clients look for. That's what contractors look for. That's not what retail people look for. So you have to stay focused on that, right? So again, the power of if you take anything from this slide, the power of keyword research lies in better understanding your target market and how they search.
They're on Pinterest, right?
Yeah.
That's a good one.
Yeah. All right, and then I get a little bit like on page, off page. So again, this isn't, I'm not saying you need to get into this with people, right? I know you don't. You need to, people are looking for you, you're not there. Features, benefits. I'm just giving you an understanding, right? So what is on page? On page is the content. On page is the schema, right? That's the tags and meta descriptions, how the website reads you, right? This is an example of the search result page, right? So they manipulated their schema markup to have certain things show up, right? Now, Google may have shown it a different way. I don't know, but they bolded stuff. They wanted to make sure that something stood out. Sometimes you see the call outs, the phone numbers, or the specials. There's other, sometimes you see they're bigger than others, right? You do a search result, you see like it's like this big on one business, and a similar business is only this big, right? It's because they manipulated. They wanted more to show up, right?
How do they do that?
The schema markup, it's the back end side, paying attention to that stuff, right? How come when they do a search result, it shows all their services listed versus just one online, right? Well, what are you doing to make that change?
So the schema markup's like the blueprint for how you're gonna look when
Yeah.
it goes out.
You're trying to keep this in mind, influence, not determine. Google determines. You're trying to influence. You cannot dictate
You're right.
Google.
Okay.
You can influence it. Right. So you can either choose not to be part of that or be part of that, right? So influence it. You never, and again, Google, right, as we talked about, like one of the objections, when can I be on page one? Well, that's up to Google. What we're gonna work on getting there, right? There's a lot that goes through that. And then meta tags, stuff on the back, that's just telling the pages like what they are, right? This is a page on tile, this is a page on Ford F-150s, this is a page on candles. If you don't do that, it makes it harder for Google to have an understanding. So if you think about a book with a cover on it, a description on it, on a first page, telling me what it's about versus one that doesn't. It's hard to, I have to read the whole book to figure out what this is about versus, oh, I see the cover, that makes sense. And I read the inside and says, this is what it's about. Which one are you more likely to pick? The one you can tell a little bit about versus an old book that doesn't say anything about the book, right? We also love old books. Yeah. Exactly. It tells you, right, why I should read further.
Yeah.
That's what a meta description is, why it should go further. And you're helping Google, and I always say Google because there's more searches there, right? It helps them have an understanding of what you're about. All right, link building. What all about here, link building authority is just keep in mind they're like testimonials, right? Think if that's what it is, right? So we're explaining to a customer what is link building, what is authority. Is if Google wants to display the most relevant, they want to result the best answer, they look at how many other people are pointing back to them. Right? If nobody points back to you as an authority on something, then that says to Google that no one sees them as an expert, right? Google is looking for trust. They're looking for authority. So when you see those like authority scores, that's what this means, right? This means that you are considered an authority or a relevant source. Without those, you have no reviews. This is what this says. This is basically what it's saying. There's no reviews about your site, about your business. It can't tell, right? So this is why you want things to link to your site and link back out way more you can connect, right? You want to leverage, it's called the SEO juice, right? You can link to other people. All right, links, it kind of just a thought because again, not you need to be super specific, but links need to be like, well, how come I didn't get 1,000 links today? Because it doesn't work that way. It needs to be like, there used to be this technique, it's called link farms, and a lot of people still have out there where they would sell you thousands of links. Google doesn't like that. It doesn't look natural. They want earned links. They want something that is earned over time. So you shouldn't do like 100 in a day. You should do 100 over like 2 months.
Right.
It's called black hat SEO, but people still do it.
But that only has a short shelf life, a really short shelf life, because once it fails, it tanks.
Absolutely. That doesn't stop you from trying it. So you see people try to have like thousands and thousands and thousands of links. It's better to have relevant links than right. Yeah.
The top left one right there. I mean, like you're talking about, if you even had 10 earned editorial links going back to your website over a month, it would be way more valuable. Like you said,
absolutely. Absolutely.
I used to do a lot of work around those particular styles of links, right?
Mm-hmm.
I didn't sell them to anybody, but I was being interested.
Sure.
So if you have a 7-day analogy and somebody's running proper links versus somebody who's doing, it's like, okay, the guy who's doing it the right way, at 7 days of consistency, is going up.
Absolutely. Yeah.
It's a slow process. You do it right, slow is the new fast. If somebody's like, oh, I'll do links right now, well, I need attention right now.
Yeah.
Okay, shoot, I'll do it for you in 2 days. I'll do it for you in 2 days. Okay, as soon as that happens, they get this huge spike, right? It looks really great. The client looks amazing, and this is where get into money. When that drops off, it's going to be 7 days of good consistency. It's going to take you 14 days of doing it the right way.
Sure. Yeah, I agree. So it's just, there's a lot of companies that we've talked to that have these programs that automatically do it. And that's why I'm very hesitant to those, because it doesn't actually, in the long run, it doesn't work, because you can get de-indexed. There's a such thing as being de-indexed.
One of these SEMrush things.
Yeah.
Some of these doctors have 50,000 backlinks.
I know.
Crazy shit. It's like you said, it goes, it's parabolic right back down.
Absolutely. And you can, there's nothing wrong to, it's kind of like Wikipedia pages, right? You have to reference stuff out. So like we'll go into our pages, and if we mention the word like TikTok, I'll link it to TikTok.
Yeah.
But that's just more of having outbound links, but I'm not doing it on every single page, right? I'll do internal links to internal pages that show our authority on the subject. So if I have a page that mentions TikTok, I might also link it to our TikTok page. Right. But yeah, over time, but you can actually buy DAs, which are called domain authority links. And they rank them by like DA 10, DA 20, DA 30. So the higher, the better, that are basically high traffic articles. So let's say you do like on like, and it's on Business Insider. Like you can do that. Yeah. And that's okay. But what you can't do is upload like 100 of them tomorrow, because it doesn't look right. And you can't be like, oh, I'm only ranking to Google. Like, but if I mention the word Google, okay, or mention the word TikTok, but not like I mentioned something obscure and I link to Google. That's not a relevant link.
Yeah.
All right. So I want to be cognizant to finish at 10, but tracking. So you've heard me say it before, but SEO shouldn't be about rankings. It should be about other than performance, right? So we look at like the quality, right? Conversion rate, time on page, pages per visit, bounce rate, scroll depth, search engine, right? So you want to look at like the quality of the person that comes to your site, and organic typically is a better quality. It is better quality than paid. You look at the metrics, time on site, the visit, is always longer for organic. It is. And so that's the kind of look at. So you can look at your average. So Island Tile, I was looking at their report last week. Their average time on site for their website overall was like 50 seconds. All right. We started an organic program for them in December. Since we started, the average time on the site is a minute 40. It's improved the quality of their traffic on their website, the stickiness. They're on the website longer. It's the equivalent of someone walking into, a department store and just using the bathroom, walking through versus shopping, right? You're staying longer. Any of these kind of metrics need explanation? You guys understand what these are? Okay.
Just to clarify, actually, do you want to help?
Yeah.
The bounce rate. My understanding is that the bounce rate is very low. That means somebody is just coming to the website for a couple seconds. If it's low, then
So you gotta look at bounce rate. So bounce rate is 0 to 100, right? The equator is 50, literally, right? Above 50, you want to be closer to 50, right? If you're above 50, you're gonna start looking like, okay, how can I do this? Doesn't is bad. Below 50 is good, right? So the higher the number, the more people are leaving immediately. So, but you have to think about a couple ways. If you're driving someone to the home page and you have multiple pages on your website and your bounce rate is 100%, that's terrible. It means people went to your homepage and never went anywhere else.
It doesn't tell them, oh yeah, you're at the right place.
Right. But if we run a campaign and we send them to that F-150 page and the ad was about F-150s and the bounce rate is 100% on this landing page, that's great. I don't care. I don't care what the bounce rate is, because it went to the specific page we wanted to go to, right? So if you run an ad for a specific product and it goes to that specific page, I don't care if they go anywhere else. They're what we want them to.
It's only a matter of time until you find the person that.
But we sent them to where we wanted to. They were interested. We sent them to where they wanted to. But if you are looking for traffic on the F-150 page and all your ads are going to the home page and no one going nowhere else, then that's terrible, right? You're gonna float in like the 60s, 70s, even 80s are okay. Ultimately, the lower the number, the better, right? And that's going to change. But normally people are not, unless it's like a news site, people aren't going more than 2 to 3 pages. They're not. There's no reason, right? So when you look at bounce rate, you just got to think about what page you sent it to. You don't want 100% bounce rate in your home page, but that's okay on landing pages because it's where you want them to go in the first place. That makes sense, right? So if you send it to the contact me page and they bounce from there, I don't care. And they're way to the contact page. That's where we wanted them to go, right? So just kind of keep that in mind. So again, why is SEO important? Majority of online traffic is driven by search engines. We know that already, right? Organic search results cover more digital real estate. So we looked at this, right? What's kind of interesting is I've seen heat maps, and it kind of shows what people look like on search engine. It looks like this. So the majority obviously is on the organic side, right? People tend to, in America, left to right, right? English. And so typically you see this is where it is, and that's why the high rankings and the organic tends to stand out. SEO gives typically 20 times more traffic opportunity than PPC, right? Just the real estate on your website. SEO is one of the only marketing channels that, when done correctly, continue paid dividends over time. Think the aircraft carrier. Right? Doesn't mean that you don't have to keep updating the aircraft carrier. It doesn't mean it doesn't have to keep fueling it, changing out the equipment, changing up the personnel on there, but it's there. You can maintain it, right? Once you're there, it's easier to maintain than getting there, right? It doesn't take you as long to maintain it as it was to fuel up, make a U-turn, and go across the ocean. If you provide a solid piece of content that deserves the rank for the right keywords, your traffic will snowball over time. So have the right content, whether it's words or video. More of that, the better.
And then gauge what content is having
Relevant.
relevant.
Again, know your client's goals, right? That's the most important. KPIs, key performance indicator. So make sure they are realistic, right? Make sure like they're not, well, I want to be #1 by February. I'm not going to guarantee that. That's a wrong goal. It should be, I want better traffic to my website. I want more leads. That's okay. But don't tell me you want to be #1. That's not a key performance indicator. That's the way to look at it. Yeah, it's an indicator, but it's not to make the cash register right. Right? I'll make you #1, but I need you to make you #1 on the right things. Yeah. All right. Who does #1 work for? Sorry. That's #2. Sorry. Yeah. Great. I think I recorded that on Zoom. Website KPIs, some other things to think about. Sales, right? Ultimately sales. Downloads. Do they have downloads off their website? Email signups, contact forms, phone calls, right? All those things make sense. And if your business has a local component, right? Like GMB, clicks to call, clicks to website, all these things generate better quality, right? Versus just rankings. So KPIs are very important. So again, what am I missing? Rankings, right? Ranking and traffic weren't on the KPI list. That's intentional. But you said, I came here to learn about SEO because I heard it could help me rank and get more traffic. It's quality. About quality, not quantity, quality. Keep that in mind, okay? So again, we generate leads, not short rankings. We're about lead generation. We're not about ranking. We're not an SEO ranking company. We're a marketing lead generation company. For example, if you're a lead generation site, would you rather have 1,000 monthly visitors and 3 people fill out a contact form, or 340 fill out? Right? When I took over Melbourne of BMWs and Volkswagen SEO and paid search a couple years back, it's been a while now. My old agency just sent me a letter that said, all my traffic's down. I said, let's look at your traffic. It looks like it's got more quality traffic now, correct? How are your sales? Good. Problem solved. Right? It's not about how many people come to your site. It's about the right people and what do they do when they get there. That's what SEO is trying to do, is quality over quantity. Okay. If you're using SEO to drive traffic to your site, for the purpose of conversions, we hope you pick the latter, right? You want the right people to come. You'd rather have 300 that 40 fill out 300 and 40 of them fill out a contact form than triple that in only 3 people. Again, I got so much traffic in Macy's today. Yeah, they all went to the bathroom, right? Or, oh, I got a bunch of people bought from me today. Which is more important? Right? It's not the many people that go through the store to the website. Is what do they do when they get there? What do they do after? They call you, right? They visit you. That's what we're focused on. And with 1 minute to spare, finito. All right.
Thank you.
There you go. I'm good.
Got a lot of content.